line that sort of follows it around that won't erase. So when I hit play and I let the date range go all the way throughout, you'll see something that looks sort of like some crazy pattern right here. But what we can see from this, we can see a couple of different things. It sort of stays in the same general bucket, so it does have some level of consistency. The color, which is e-commerce conversion rate, stays in a green, in a blue state, so it's around 25, 20%, which is not bad. But what you can do, see for this example where I'm pointing my arrow to, that particular keyword really read, really converted really highly. So what I could do, I could go back to my regular keywords report for 10/12/08 and maybe see kind of what happened there for that particular keyword. But other than a couple of outliers here and there, it sort of stays in the same general vicinity. Where I have found this to be very useful when I'm using motion charts is actually comparing one particular keyword with another one. So I've done this in my second example here that's loading right now. What I've done, I clicked on another keyword, and I used trails, and it did both. It gave me trails for both of them. You can see the other keyword that's above the top-performing keyword, very, very concentrated, very, very blue, so very low conversion rate. Circles are much, much smaller in comparison to the one that's top-performing. So this is really where I think it can come into play a lot for you. You can kind of compare 2 or 3 or 4 different keywords, sources, languages, whatever it is that whatever report that you happen to be in that has motion charts available for it. So the question that I would ask myself if I were to look at this, and this was an actual profile, I would say, what could I possibly do to get that blue keyword that's up in the left-hand corner to get some more returning visitors, so to get it lower on the chart, and how do I get it to be more towards the right-hand side so that these keywords will generate some more pages per visit and hopefully increase the e-commerce and the revenue of it. That's sort of what Google Analytics was trying to, sort of the message that they were trying to come across when they created motion charts. They really wanted you to be engaged with it, really wanted you basically to play with it and to see if you can grab any insights or even ask questions about some keywords or about some sources that you may not have been able to ask or may not have been as clear or as visible in some of the other reports. So just like advanced segments, I definitely advise to sort of spend some time, come up with whatever charts you want, and you can save them, as I'll show you in just a second, and definitely get familiar with how it works, and you'll see it, of course, in motion, which is kind of cool, and hopefully it can be really insightful for you. What I have here, I have another example that I want to show you. This is a non-e-commerce example. I understand a lot of you do not have e-commerce on your Google Analytics accounts. Your websites are not e-commerce, so there would be no reason to have it. So if you are one of those people, you can still use motion charts for just a regular standard way. In this particular example, for this particular website, this is, I'm looking at the languages report in the visitors section. I want to get a sense of how user behavior, how engaged my different language sets are. And just to explain to you, languages, these are, each person's browser has a language that is your default setting. So when you go to a website that has Google Analytics tracking code, it recognizes what language setting you have on your browser. Most people in America, of course, have the English language as their browser setting, but anybody who's not a native speaker of English, who prefers to read it in their own native language, they can go into the browser settings and they can change that setting to whatever language they want. It supports basically every language in the world. So for this particular example, I'm trying to see these particular language groups of people. I want to see their levels of engagement, and I want to get a feel for the appeal of my website to different languages. So what I've done here in the x-axis, I left it at pages per visit. I feel that's a pretty good metric to sort of get things started. Same thing with percent new visitors going up and down on the y-axis. I want to get a feel for the new versus returning visitors. What I've done for the color, I've used the bounce rate metric to define what color it is. Now, for this particular metric only, it sort of works the opposite way, because the lower the bounce rate, as most of you know, the better it is for you. So what you want the actual colder or greener or bluer colors to appear for these languages. Notice how the one that's clicked in the middle of the screen, en.us, that's the English language setting, that one's in the orange. So a lot of the English-speaking visitors to my particular website, they're bouncing at a pretty high rate, higher than what the first one is. The other one is that's clicked on FR, which is French. The size of the bubbles is determined by the average time on site here. So as you can see, again, the French segment language, they're really spending more time on my site. They're really looking at more pages, about a couple of more pages than my English-speaking people. So this is really good for you if you, let's say that your website was in English and perhaps you didn't realize that there was a particular segment of the population that was highly interested in your company or your services. So one of the things that motion charts can really get you to see is, or get you to sort of think about maybe creating some kind of landing page if you're doing pay-per-click marketing, or even maybe design a page on your site for SEO purposes that is in that particular language for those particular people. So what I've done here in this next screenshot, I basically applied the trails that I did last time, and so I can compare the two different segments. And again, we see basically what we saw for that one day throughout the course of the last couple of months. So we know this is not really a fluke. This is really sort of a trend really now at this point. The bubbles for the French language speakers, much bigger. They're spending a lot of time. Doesn't really ever get higher than a yellow color, or hotter than a yellow color as far as bounce rate. So they are interested. They are engaged in whatever my website has to say. Compare that now to the small section towards the bottom left of the chart, English US. Very yellow, very small bubbles, even some orange I see in there. So it's pretty clear that whatever we have is appealing to this particular segment of the population, this particular language set. So if I were the owner of this website, I would definitely come away from motion charts with some ideas and maybe some thoughts as to how to sort of take advantage of the popularity or the interest that a particular segment of the population is showing with my website. And finally, if you want to save it, let's say you build the perfect motion chart, you really love it, you want to show everyone, and you really want to come back for it, every week or every couple of weeks to keep analyzing over time. What you can do right now, towards the bottom of the motion chart, you can copy that link, and what that link will do, all you have to do is save it somewhere in an Excel file or on your desktop. When you click on it, it'll take you right back to where you basically left off in your motion chart. All of your options, all of your colors and sizes, and even the trails option will still be there. So that's basically the way to save a motion chart for future use. There's no save button yet in Google Analytics. Hopefully they'll come up with something like that. But for now, you at least are given a link. It's kind of a long link, so just be careful that you have all the parameters that you copy, you paste it back again, because that's really what creates the motion chart. So save that link if you're interested in whatever motion chart that you created, and that's the best way to get it back again. And just like advanced segmentation, there's thousands of different options that you can use with motion charts. You can spend a lot of time on it. I know I spend probably a little bit too much time playing with the motion charts, but it's really great, and it really can bring up some good insights. Like my second example